In the last video, we learned all about the notes, but knowing the notes doesn't really help. I mean, you can play this all day, but that isn't really helping you become the guy at the party that plays the songs and everyone is laughing and singing because you're so cool. So the first step is knowing which notes sound good together. And you might say all of those notes sounded fine to me, but the entire Western world would disagree with you because we have been conditioned to think that certain notes sound good together. For example, this sounds nicer than... And again, it's only because of social conditioning that we feel that way. Some people do argue that certain notes' frequencies reflect nature better, but whatever. When we talk about notes sounding good together, we're usually talking about notes being in the same key. So the question is, how do we know which notes are in the same key? The first step is to understand the major scale. So let's go to the piano. This is a C major scale. Wow, sounds great! But I can feel your little brains buzzing with questions. First, why did I choose to start on this note? This is C, and what you heard was the C major scale. So why didn't I use the A major scale? A is the first letter of the alphabet. That would make sense, right? No, you're absolutely wrong. This is an A major scale. Just like the C major scale, it does sound pleasant, but you may have noticed that I played some black keys. Here it is again if you weren't looking. And that's why a lot of concepts in music revolve around C, because the C major scale doesn't have any black keys. It's also one of the reasons why I'm using the piano to explain some concepts. There are no white or black frets on the ukulele, so I think it's a little more difficult to visualize, at least I think so. So the next question you might have is, why didn't they just name this note A? And like so many things in music, there is no good reason. It all goes back hundreds of years, and people are just terrified of change. So again, this is the C major scale, all white keys. And this is the D major scale, some black keys in there. This is the E major scale, more black keys. What you may notice is there is no easy to see pattern between those scales, but there actually is. You just have to look a little closer. Watch. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just going to tell you. The formula is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. What? Okay, so let's take a step back. The distance between these two notes is what we call a half step. The distance between these two notes is a whole step. A whole step pretty much means that you skip a note. So let's look at some more examples. Whole step, half step. And because there is no E sharp, this is a half step and this is a whole step. Same applies for B to C and B to C sharp. So that formula, which didn't make a lot of sense before, maybe will make a little more sense now. Again, it's whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So let's use the C scale as an example. We start with C, then we go whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Now let's try it with the D scale. D, so whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. And if you want to get crazy, let's try it in C sharp. There's C sharp, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. So the reason a major scale is important, or why it should be important to you, is that it helps us determine what key a song is in. I'm sure you've heard that before. This song is in the key of G or in the key of B flat. And like 99% of the songs you come across will be in a major key. Bob Dylan's Like a Rolling Stone is in the key of C. Dude Looks Like a Lady by Aerosmith is in the key of A. The reason the chords of those songs are pleasing to our ears are because all of the notes in those chords fall within the major scale. Not all of the notes. There are reasons why you would play a note here or there outside of the scale, but we'll get to that later. You may be asking yourself, major keys are great for making happy music, but I like sad songs in minor keys because I'm a sad person. Okay, well, Radiohead's Karma Police is a song in the key of E minor, and it is really sad. I mean, just look at this guy. But the secret to songs in minor keys is that they're kind of also in a major key. Every minor key has an equivalent major key. So a song like Karma Police, which is in E minor, you could also say it's in G major. I don't want to complicate things too much yet, but just watch. This is a C major scale. And this is an A minor scale. Did you notice that they use the same exact notes? So the only thing that separates the A minor key from the C major key is where you start and end the scale. If you started here, it's a little more happy than if you started here. So this idea that every major scale has an equivalent minor scale is called a relative minor. And every minor having a equivalent major scale is called a relative major. They're like twin brothers that were separated at birth, and one of them had a real happy life and the other one had a real depressing life. So when we come across a minor key, we're going to switch it to a major key. Not because you have to do that, but it does make things a little easier, especially at first when you only want to learn one set of rules. So how do we find the relative major and minor? The relative minor is always 3 half steps down from the major. So C major, if we go down 3 half steps, 1, 2, 3, is A minor. G major, go down 3 half steps, 1, 2, 3, is E minor. And if something is a minor key, you just do the opposite. You go up 3 steps to find the major key. So D minor is 1, 2, 3, F major. Like I said, there is a formula for figuring out the notes of a minor scale, but because we just want to learn one formula right now, we're just going to change every minor key into a major key. You should do this too. Like if you come across a song and it's an A minor, it might be easier for you to process how the song is built if you just switch it really quick to C major. So now you can figure out which notes are in which key. Like if you're playing in the key of D, you could say the notes that will sound nice together are D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. You should not play F or A sharp. Let me show you. I'm going to play some chords in the key of D, and with my right hand, I'm going to play notes that are in the scale. And watch what happens when I play those off-key notes. Sounds kind of shitty. I'll do the same thing with the minor scale. So first I'll find the relative minor. So down from D, 3 steps, 1, 2, 3 is B. So our relative minor is B minor. So I'm going to play some chords in the B minor scale, but I'm going to play those same exact notes in the D major scale. And if I play some off-key notes, you get the idea. Firstly, this shows that B minor is the same as D major because I was playing chords in B minor, but the scale in D major, and they sounded nice together. And you may be getting curious about chords, but you have not earned the right to learn chords yet. So let's review. The major scale is what makes notes sound nice together, at least to our ears. To figure out which notes fit in the major scale, we use the formula whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And to find the notes in a minor scale, you just go to that note and go up 3 half steps and find the relative major scale. So let's move on to the ukulele. We'll start with good old C. If we use our formula, we can find the major scale on the C string. So here's C, and then you go whole step, which means skip 1. Whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Here it is a little faster so you can hear it. But we know that the notes on the ukulele repeat downward, so we could play it like this. All I'm doing is bringing the notes that were up here to their equivalent notes down here. You could also play it like this. That's one of the advantages of the ukulele. You could play certain notes here, and they have the exact same notes in different places. Like this C is the same as this C. Whereas on the piano, there's only one C that sounds like this. Another advantage is the shape of the scales. So for example, this is the E major scale, because it starts on E. And if I want to play it in F, I just slide it up 1. And if I slide it up again, it's F sharp. And you'll notice that my fingers use the same pattern every time. On the piano, if you remember, it was hard to see any kind of pattern in the scales. On the ukulele, once you know the scale shape, you could just slide it up or down the neck. Now you may be saying, I don't want to sit around all day playing lame-ass scales. Nobody gets on a stage and rocks out like... And I totally agree. I don't think you need to memorize the scales or which notes are in the scales, but it is important to know how to figure out which notes are in each key. Because like if you want to write a song in the key of E, you have to know which notes sound good in the key of E. And now you know how to find which notes are in which key. So the real purpose of the last video on this one is to set up some groundwork for what we're going to get into, which is chords. I realize there is some annoying theory and formulas going on, and it's not very fun because you can't really use any of it to like play songs. If you want to just look up the chords to a song and then get a website to tell you how to make those chords on the ukulele, I mean, that's fine. You can do that. You've probably already been doing that. But you really want to live the rest of your life having a computer tell you what to play? I don't think so. Okay, good luck. Have fun.